Hi everyone, I'm Angelica Allen. I am a stage 3 back cancer survivor and thriver. I was diagnosed with back cancer in 2018, so it was 5 years now. So I had an emergency surgery and 12 sessions of chemotherapy, and in total was and a partial hysterectomy at the end. It was a whole year of surgeries and treatment. You ask me like what happened that moment when they told me about the cancer. I believe in God, and I asked God. I was like, "Are you serious?" like, like I've got 2 kids to raise. Didn't you see that? Like, they're only 6 and 4. I'm only 38. With any chance that you could have given me something a little easier, and and I got an answer. And I think that. And people say, but how did you get an answer? I said, well, I was open to get an answer. And the answer was, you need to forgive your parents. I had a lots of issues with my parents. I hadn't spoken to them for 12 years. And I held on to a lot of anger and resentment. And, I know that not everybody believes in the whole, natural world and the complementary medicine and things that are just not only physical, but the bowel is the organ that you let go of your things, and once you don't let go of your things and you keep them, that's how it affected me. And I had been angry, I had been stressed, I had been resenting my family. I was stubborn about it. All my jobs were very, very stressful because I seek that as as it was an addiction, like to seek that stress and that vicious cycle. I didn't look after myself. By the time I was a mom, was just like all for my kids. There was nothing around self-care. I thought I ate a good diet because I cooked from scratch at home, but I ate an enormous amount of animal product, which, meat and dairy, and very little fruits and vegetables, and legumes and things that come straight from nature. I drank alcohol. I binge drink for 16 years before. By the time I had the kids, I drank less, but I still drank 8 units a week. So when you look at that, you think like, oh, but that's not too bad. When you keep doing that over and over and over and over again with your body says, I can't take this anymore. Enough is enough. And that's what my body did. So the doctors told me that my diagnosis was bad luck. And for me, it was really important to find my own answers. And I found that there was 3 buckets. The first bucket was my diet and exercise that I needed to change. And that was a really important part of my healing process. The second bucket was stress, and I needed to change my relationship with stress. And the third bucket was emotional healing. That again, I needed to work through that. I stopped working during chemo, and I thought I really need to focus on myself. So I was really tired. I was nauseous 24/7. They said, "Oh, people that have had morning sickness, they most likely are going to be very nauseous the whole time." So I was nauseous 24/7. That feeling of constant, and to be honest, because I had morning sickness with my daughter, my second child, for 9 months, I kind of thought, what, I'm a pro at this. I'm going to nail this. I'm going to be fine, and I just dealt with it. I used to take the medication that they gave me for the first 3 days while I was in chemo, which was very strong. But after that, I just thought there was no point because the nausea was always there. I was getting sick, with coughs and colds at the beginning. So I self-quarantined. I stopped seeing people. So pretty much I had all my energy to myself. The kids would go to school, my husband would go to work, and I would just fully focus on my healing. So that meant that I spent a lot of time in bed, but I would started going for walks, for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I started doing yoga for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And before I knew, I was doing, half an hour. Before I knew, I was doing 45 minutes. Before I knew, I was doing an hour. So the cycle would be my first days, it was really slow and I'll exercise as much as I could, 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes. And then on my best days, I would just go for it. I would just be running my bike. I had my bike like on a wind trainer at home. And I would just like, I remember having my pump like on and just like cycling as hard as I could because I would crash after the pump would disconnect. And I would just go for it. And I started getting stronger from one session after another. I started having less days in bed and more days doing more things. Now I really would like to highlight this. I was exhausted, but I started to change my diet during chemo, and I also started exercising and meditating. I did not wait until the end of the chemo. So the diet I changed slowly from a animal product heavy based Western healthy diet to more a plant-based diet. I did it slowly because I needed my kids and my husband to come in the journey with me. So we could all, be eating the same thing. And on top of that, I started exercising. Now, a lot of people feel like, hey, but I need the rest. I focus a lot on rest, and I think rest is a massive part of the recovery. So I started my journey really by getting some books from the library about recipes that people ate during chemotherapy. And as I started reading about nutrition, I was like, oh my God, all of these foods that come from nature, they're like medicine. Where have I been? Like I have been not, like which world have I been living in? And I started really devouring books on nutrition, on healing, on everything that I could do to take completely control of the things that I could control. And that's, I think exercise was coming as in like a lot of, somebody sent me a TV thing from a lady who had beat stage 4 bowel cancer with exercise. And I thought, like exercise, I needed to introduce exercise. And I started just very, very small steps. And I was forced to doing small steps. So I went from being this person of like 0 to 100, working and doing everything, to literally not being able to get out of bed. So I had to do small steps. Like it was almost like I was forced to doing that, but it was a blessing because I learned how to be patient. I learned to connect to myself again. I was so disconnected from my body. I was so disconnected from my own self. And, yoga helped me so much with that, sitting and breathing. Yeah, go. For example, the doctor would say like, okay, have you got any constipation diarrhea after the chemotherapy? I'll be like, oh, I have constipation. Okay, here we go, another medication. And I'm like, I'm not going to take any more medication. So then I started juicing. I would just use and I'll be like, okay, well, my platelets are low. What should I eat for that? My white cells are low. What should I eat for that? And I started just like researching. I spent my whole chemotherapy, 7.5 months reading about nutrition. Like I just literally, like I would read all the books, everything. Yeah, so platelets, for example, I'm lucky here that I can find, you can eat papayas. For the constipation, I started juicing 2 days before and eating kiwis 2 days before the chemo started. And I never got constipated again. Like carrot juice, orange juice, kiwis. I would binge on it. I would just be like, that's it. That's like I am not gonna get constipated. Walking, exercise, and all of that as well. And it really was interesting to also for me. The driver was understanding why I got to that place. When they told me it was bad luck, and I thought, no, I'm not accepting that. I need to find my own answers. I need to understand what led me to this. And when I looked at my life, I was 38 years old. I had lived 20 years in Brazil. I'm from Brazil. I ate an enormous amount of sugar, an enormous amount of salamis and, pork meat and red meat and, vegetables, yes, and fruit, yes. But really, when you look at it, the Western diet is is very heavy on animal product. There is very little space and opportunity for you to eat veggies. So it's just about changing that balance. And after everything that I read, I was not only focused on conquering cancer. I was focusing in creating a long-term health. So everything that I did, I went from like doing nothing for me to doing everything for me. And I was having the best time of my life, in a sense of, yes, it was rough. I'm not just gonna say here it was easy, but I had been a mom for 6 years. I had two children, 6 and 4 years old. I hadn't looked after myself for so many years. It was so refreshing to spend that time to give me the opportunity to get to know who I was. I remember like one of the first yoga sessions that I was doing on YouTube, and the teacher said, now no, ask your body, something. And I'm like, who is this? Like, like you were so disconnected. You're like, I don't even know that I had a body. We live thinking that the body has to work for us, that, we resent when our bodies are not, why I'm not, so energetic as I was when I was 20. Well, it's because you're not giving anything to your body. So we all eat a plant-based diet now. I exercise every single day without failing. I meditate. I sleep 8 hours a day. I prioritize my health above all. And my health only got better and better and better. Like I just cannot believe what my body has done for me. I was like in awe. When I finished the 12 sessions, one of the oncologist nurse said to me, Angelica, well done for finishing the 12 sessions. And I said, well, not everybody does. And he said, no. I've seen 4 people in 8 years of oncology finishing the 12 sessions. I was like, oh my God. I was like 2 weeks later, I was like running. I was like so fit. And I think that, people that are, listening to this and they're going through chemo, really focusing on your diet and exercising. If I had let my body going, like just doing whatever I was doing for 7.5 months, is a long time for you to let your body go. My body would have been a wreck. And I think also for me was focusing on, all the positives that I was going through. I've got my kids, I've got my husband, changing like everything into gratitude. I spend all of my time in that space. And I think that's so important for you to protect your energy during cancer treatment, because the physical battle it's hard, but the mental battle is much harder.